In the major salary, we have one major. That major actually oversees the task force. He oversees the jail. He oversees some of the internal personnel issues, and he's our liaison also for our adult detective bureau with Captain Drager.
And hiring.
And hiring also, and handles the backgrounds. There's just he wears an incredible amount of hats. His name is Larry Limbert, and to be quite honest with you, we would really struggle without him because he's just a vast of knowledge and experience, and he just does such a great job for us. So he makes $94,000. Stark County makes $96,000 for the same position. Summit County is $113,000, $20,000 difference. And in Summit County, there are multiples. There is not just him. There's not just one. There's multiples that are taking much less roles and responsibilities than we're doing. On the
Hey,
lieutenant.
Vicki. Ralph, I need to interrupt you.
Sure.
Is there public comment? It's 11.
I don't have any.
Nope, there's none. So
Okay.
on the lieutenant salary is $76,000 is what our lieutenants make. We actually just got yesterday. We had placed a public information request. We actually Kent State University had responded. So a lieutenant in Kent State University makes $7,450 more than us. A lieutenant in Ravenna makes $12,131 more than our lieutenant. Kent makes over 16,000, Streetsboro over 21,000, and Aurora over $26,000 a year more than what our lieutenant is. Our lieutenant is in the whole county. Our lieutenant's salary at the bottom. As on the sergeant's salaries, sergeant makes $67,127. Kent State University makes $8,700 more. Sergeant in Ravenna makes over $10,000 more. In Kent, over $15,000. Streetsboro over $18,000, and a sergeant in Aurora makes over $28,000 more than our sergeants here. Once again, in the entire county, Portage County, right at the sheriff's office, right at the bottom again. In the patrolman / deputy salary, so the patrolman makes, or deputy in Portage makes $59,245. Ravenna's patrolman makes $8,600 more. Kent State University makes $9,700 more. Kent City makes almost $14,500 more. Streetsboro over $15,000, and Aurora over $24,000 a year more than our deputy. Once again, out of that chart, once again, Portage deputies again at the bottom. In our corrections, we have 74,000 is what our lieutenant, actually, Brian Morgenstern, what we have opted to do here is, in many of these salaries, there's a lieutenant and then there's also a jail administrator. What we chose to do when Sheriff Zukowski made the decision and came on board was to basically not hire another jail administrator, but rather to retain the position of lieutenant and appoint him as the jail administrator, so that he basically plays two roles, but based on the minimum jail standards, we're able to legally fall within the standards of our corrections without violating those and being able to be compliant. So with Brian, he's at 74. Mahoney County is $429 more, but they also have higher level positions. In Lorraine, $6,600, Cuyahoga $7,000, Summit County is $13,160. I didn't even want to put some of the other ones because they were so outrageously high, like Geauga's into the mid-20s more. Then our corrections sergeants, and once again on the lieutenant, Portage County again at the bottom. For the corrections sergeant, $66,000. Lorraine was $3,300 more. Cuyahoga was $3,500 more. Geauga was $8,500 more. and Summit was $8,861 more. And then our corrections officer, which is our big, group of people, Medina County rated 4,000 more, Lorraine at 7,800, Summit was 10,900 more, and Geauga was 12,968 more. With that being said, we're struggling to hire people, and it's hard to find people to work in jails. But what is happening is all of these other jails are in the same position that we're in. But why would somebody come to Portage County for 52 when they could go to a Geauga or a Summit that they could make $13,000 more a year? I mean, it's life-changing for them and their family. And we're not necessarily, and I'll get to this, we're not asking to be the Geaugas and the Summits. We're just asking to just kind of get us close to that bottom end, that, if one was the highest or one was the lowest and 10 was the highest, we're asking to be about that 2.5 to 3. Not, yes.
Ralph, do you know how many Portage County deputies have left you and went to, let's say, Geauga County? Do you have those numbers as to how many people they've recruited in neighboring counties?
No, that's a great question, and so it's funny because right now I actually just spoke with Ron this morning, and we are in the process of trying to get that number, because the number will be staggering. We have had so many, and he's had it in the jail. I don't have an actual number, but I can get that for you, but it's staggering. And the thing that's kind of sad about this is that we have lost so many good people too that have gone to other agencies, and God bless them. But we have lost such good candidates. They've gone to other agencies and they've just climbed in the ranks because, and I attribute a lot of that to some of the base of what they got from Portage County before they left. Some great leadership. We have great people, but it's just we're just missing that element of that salary to be able to retain and also attract good candidates. And retaining and attracting good candidates comes also to provides better service, provides effective law enforcement. But the other thing too is it provides reduced liability too, because when you have someone that's experienced and has tenure, we're going to have the people that we know can do the job and not put us at risk. So on the dispatch division, we've got Portage County dispatchers make $49,000. Kent dispatcher makes $7,000 more. Ravenna $7,900 more. Streetsboro $9,600 more, and in Aurora $11,700 more. Once again, out of the whole county, Portage again at the bottom. The thing that I want to reiterate through all of these slides is we have the largest. We have 4 times the amount of area to patrol, and our population is almost 50% of the entire county. Is just shy of 50%. But when you break up all these departments, no single department even comes close to what we're doing as far as population of calls to service, and also how many times a lot of these departments will run into a situation that we're going to them to assist them for calls of service that they can't handle, and we also call on to them too. You have no doubt about that. But in more cases than none, we're supporting all these other agencies also for mutual aid. So,
Hey Ralph.
yes ma'am.
Have you looked into the different funding sources and how many of those agencies have actual safety levies on? Because I know Ravenna does.
Yeah, Ravenna does. I spoke to Aurora. Aurora does not, and I spoke to Kent, and Kent does not. Because you actually had brought that up at the last meeting. I was totally unaware of that was the case. But what I'm finding, and I'm actually have it where I'm putting together an actual official email, because many of these, we have emails out to a number of them. So most of this information we took off of the CERB website, to be able to have that based off of the contracts for this information. But many of the public information requests that we put in, as a matter of fact, Dave Lear had actually assisted us and put in a number of these. we only had like 3 people out of all these agencies that actually responded back to us, so that I actually had a bona fide public information request. But I'm gonna do that to request that because, I'm finding that Ravenna is unique.
To know that, yeah.
Yep. So what I did is in kind of summary here, to kind of keep this moving, I put a summary together of every position that we have within our agency compared to all of the studies that we did out there, and hope that we would be able to see a high point or a low point somewhere. But in every one of these, whether it was the chief deputy, the major, lieutenant, sergeant, patrolman, the dispatchers, correction lieutenants, the sergeants to the corrections officer, Portage County was the lowest in every single category. And then there's you have Summit, Aurora, Summit, Geauga, all of these other agencies were the top. But we were consistent in the sense that we were the bottom on every one of these. One of the other things that we did was we started to be fair and totally transparent, is, when there were some articles that had come out saying that, the sheriff's department was this huge abuse and this, that, and the other thing, we started to look at this, and what we were able to find was we did a comparison of the top 100 earners in the county. And what we found was that out of the top 100 earners, 30 of those top 100 were to the Department of Developmental Disabilities. 21 of those top earners were under the Commissioner's Hiring Authority. The 18 of those were out of the courts, 7 of those were out of the prosecutor's office, and 6 of those came from the sheriff's office. And I put a star next to the sheriff's office because of the fact that out of all of these numbers that you're seeing here, the sheriff's office is a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, 365-day operation, whereas many of these other ones that ranked well above us are not. Other than, say, for example, under the Commissioner's Hiring Authority, Water Resources, they had a break in service, a line or something, they're going to respond. But for the most part, Monday through Friday, weekends and holidays off, Sheriff's Office is running a 24-hour operation, but only 6 people out of the top 100 earners. And then, if I, just to kind of give you a rundown of what we found, 5 were at the auditors, 5 at the engineer, Board of Health, Mental Health, we had 2, Soil and Water, Portage Parks, and then the Public Defender. But that was what made up your top 100 earners. And what was interesting too is we then broke it down by salary, because, we do have, our budget is one of the highest, or the highest operating budget in the county for you guys. But of that, we only make up 6 of the highest earners, and those 6 are also in a 24-hour operation. So what I did was, numbers don't lie, and I took this one step further to just kind of get my arms around this and said, am I missing something here? Well, I wasn't, because the developmental disability had a total of $2,357,000 that went to their top 100. Their courts had just shy of $2 million with $1,942,000. Under the Commissioner's Hiring Authority was $1,687,000. The prosecutor had $645,000. And then here we come to the sheriff at $550,000 with the 24-hour service. The engineer at $495,000. That was a little bit that was actually a little bit of a surprise too, because of the fact that, I started looking at some of these. Now the commissioners definitely are going to have a lot of people. You have a lot of people under your hiring authority. I don't know what the number is for the prosecutor. I know where the number is for the sheriff's office. But then I looked even at the engineer with $495, only $50,000 less. I don't know, how that number is to be, but I was basically told under their own budget, and that they pretty much are insulated from any accountability.
Well, Ralph, I think you have to take into considerations, like with the prosecutors, a lot of these are certified or degree positions. I mean, you think about it, to be a sheriff deputy, you just have to have a high school education, be 21, and go through an academy. So I'm thinking you really have to take into consideration when you're looking at like the engineer's office. A lot of them have to be not only engineers,
Sure.
but they have to be surveyors. And in all fairness,
And I'm not disputing that, but we also, within our organization, we have some of the people that have CPAs that is probably one of the hardest tests to take in the professional business world, that our CPA in our agency didn't even make, he wasn't even close to that top 100. So I totally understand, but I'm just saying that I get it, but I think that it just, you know, I wanted to be able to look at this because I needed to justify this to myself, that are these numbers really true? And we found that they really were. One of the things that I looked at is because I was able to, you know, there were some mentions at the beginning as far as some media positions had taken with my salary and the sheriff's salary and some of our captains, but you know, we got an email on the 9th of February from the engineer's office of basically a restructure within their office, that they promoted somebody to 109,000. You know, well over $5,000 more than I was at. And I'm not, this isn't about, you know, a money situation for me comparing myself to the county engineer's chief or whatever, but I guess just as a county, because what we need to do is we need to have, I think transparency is key. And I think that the ability to just really, if someone's going to, you know, accuse us of stuff, I think that we at least have the fairness and should have the ability to be able to defend what we do. And I'm not here to say, well, why isn't somebody calling out the chief in the engineer's office of making this kind of money? I'm just trying to say that we're not here abusing the dollars, and I was able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, based on just our salary studies, not just for you as commissioners, but for us as an agency, we want to do the right thing first. And that's, you know, my point was that there is quite a bit, but to move this along is so in the total spend of things, this was just a pie chart that I had created to just kind of show you the whole picture of where things are at, to show you that sheriff's office is only 6.2% of that top positioning. So we had talked briefly the savings in raising dollars, because our goal is not to spend money. Our goal is that we understand that there's got to be a spend, but also our duty here is to be able to figure out where do we save money and where do we bring money in. So we looked at the prisoner housing plan that we talked about with the feds. We are fully moving forward as far as with all of the specifics. Lieutenant Morgenstern is working with us. The sheriff is working with Pete Elliott. We are in the process right now of getting that plan together. We're setting up an appointment right now for the inspector to know exactly what do we need to do to reach that goal. We updated, this has actually already taken place. Under the old administration, the sheriff came in, went down to Columbus, he went to sheriff's training, came back with a world of knowledge of different stuff. One of the things that he questioned immediately was, what is our civil division doing as far as the fee structures? We had fees that were old fees, we had fees that were never even being charged, stuff that we have done, and we are probably going to be able to be effective in the position that our civil division will probably bring in a difference of between 30 and 40% more than we did last year and years prior, just based on the fact that the sheriff went in and revamped this entire structure here. And this is currently happening, we already did it. For the CCW division, we do not come to you guys for our ammunition, our firearms, any of that stuff. We purchase that all through our CCW funds. We have increased our hours for permits to be issued. We are now added Saturdays that we're doing it. We've got 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, that we are there for 12 hours from 7 a.m. to 7 at night, to just basically be able to help the public and make it accommodating for them. We spoke about how we have reduced the brass in our administration. We are utilizing our task force manpower more than ever, where we are, if we have a case in our detective bureau that requires follow-up, we're utilizing the resources from that. And our task force is made up of, we have our 3 deputies from Geauga, but in addition, we have an officer from Ravenna, Streetsboro, Kent, Ravenna, Aurora,
Or,
and then we also have federal agents from the Marshals, ATF, FBI, and I believe DEA was in the process of
actually DEA is the Ravenna officer.
the Ravenna. Oh yeah, the Ravenna. Yep. So DEA is actually the Ravenna officer. That's correct, sure. So we're utilizing them more than ever. So Friday night, for example, we had a big interdiction situation in Streetsboro that we were talking about. We utilized our task force for that to just try to help bring in this manpower. We have the vehicle take-home program that I can't tell you guys enough how much we appreciate the commissioners, giving us a chance and getting behind this, because we will see, the response, the maintenance, all of the positives that are gonna come out of this. We can't thank you enough. And then we've done is just a review and audit of all of our expenditures within our operation. And I don't wanna bring up the gloomy phone bill, but it's things like that we're trying to zone in on, because at the end of the day, we wanna do this to be able to look out for the best interest of the entire county and the commissioners and the taxpayers. So the equipment goal that we have, the deputy assigned take-home cars, which we gracefully appreciate.
I wanna say something about
Yes.
that, Ralph, because I was assuming, and I guess you should never do that because you know what that means, but that take-home vehicle was done away with to save money. Since then, I found out from a very reliable source that no, that was not the reason it was taken away. It was taken away because someone was upset with the people that were in the department, and he stopped it because he had the authority to do so.
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, why didn't we know that?
Well, the sheriff and I actually had learned about that last week, because we were really not sure either why that would have happened, because to be quite honest with you, it totally threw the train off the tracks of that process working, that we now are trying to rebuild that point, but
We should have been made aware of that, though.
totally agree. And Sheriff and I talked about that in great length. It's disheartening, to be honest. But we talked about then the body cams, the vehicle dash cams. This is something that we are required under the Ohio Revised Code, and we've been non-compliant with this with the scales, portable scales. So if you have 41 linear miles of freeway or more or state routes, we have to have a commercial vehicle enforcement unit within the county that's overseen by the sheriff's office. We have not done this. A lot of this goes to our federal grants, not just for us, but for our road grants that we can apply for, that it's a compliance portion of that also. So what we're doing is the nice part about this for the commissioners is, under the Ohio Revised Code, the scales, the vehicle, and the officer that does the enforcement, under the Ohio Revised Code is ordered to pay by the county engineer. And the part of the situation is that the fines of the citations that would be issued for overloads, a large portion of those fines go to the engineers, or return back to the engineer for road repairs and road maintenance and road projects. So it's kind of a win across the board. Not only our goal is to make the roads safe, of avoiding, serious traffic crashes or potential fatalities based on, none of these accidents usually end up good because of the amount of weight that is in here. But the safety, the betterment of the roads, and the dollars that would go into making those roads. So it's a win across the board. And as far as the sheriff's office, it's something that we would not have to look at that, and the commissioners don't either, because that comes out of the engineer's part. Ballistic shields, we do not have any ballistic shields. We do not have any ballistic helmets. With a lot of the civil unrest that we have seen through this past year, it's a concern. The other concern part of that is that we have the second largest university in the state of Ohio with the population. God forbid we have a situation that breaks out there. How do we protect our officers, that are responding to try to get some peace, restored, and all of a sudden, we're in a situation that an officer gets hit with a brick in the head and he goes down. Now what do we do? So we have none of this stuff right now currently. We have these motorcycle, they look like motorcycle helmets that you find in the kids section of Kitty City. To be honest with you, is what these guys have. Totally antiquated stuff. They don't even fit officers' heads. It's really disheartening to have seen this. On Monday of this week, we had 2 of our MDTs in our vehicles go down, and we had a third on Tuesday go down. Thank you to Janet Esposito. To be honest with you, the amount of effort that she's helping us with to try to get some of those, we're doing Band-Aid after Band-Aid on their MDTs, but they're old, they're tired, they're constantly bouncing in cars, they take abuse.
What's an MDT?
Mobile data terminal.
Okay.
It's the computers that are in our cars. And it's kind of the lifeline. All of our calls get dispatched through there. Sometimes confidential information on a call that we don't want to put out on a radio to protect the scene,
Right.
protect parties. It's something that's critical. So we've got to look to do something with that. The other thing I want to thank you for is Lexapol. This was approved by you guys, the commissioners on, I believe 2 weeks ago. This is a live policy procedures manual. We have old manuals that are in our station with some policies since 1976, never been updated. This is going to give us it's a live document. It works off even an app on our deputies' phones. This will totally give us the ability to have updated policies, be able to make changes, to be able to comply with the Ohio Revised Code. If there's a law change, this policy immediately gets changed. We get notified of it, the sheriff signs off on it, and then every deputy has to take a test on that policy. Once the test is passed, then he signs off on it, he understands and agrees. It just keeps us on a training level, on an accountability level, and most of all too is liability is, if we're following policies and procedures, the county's liability goes down.
So it automatically updates, you're
Yep.
saying?
Yep, and it's a service that that they provide, so we were able to do the initial pay-in, and then there's a yearly maintenance that we have, that was all in that contract. But the cost of that, what we would have to pay a full-time person, we couldn't, it's basically 2 months, 3 months of that person, of what we would have to pay somebody to do that. That this team of Lexapol is established for the Ohio Revised Code, follows the Ohio Revised Code, continuous updates, they have continuous training for our officers. I mean, it's just a constant thing for us to be able to have. And we
Ralph,
thank you. Yes,
Ralph, we need to wrap it up. We're
Yeah.
about 45 minutes out.
Okay.
Where we should be.
okay,
It's almost 11:30.
yep, so real quick, I'll blow through this real quick here. So the personnel goals that we had talked about was the 2 K9, and then the 4 additional deputies, and then the ones for the road, that they would be the road patrol. On our financial goal, what we had basically talked about, this would just put us in that lower bracket, but just to be able to be more attractive is the increases that we were looking at for our salaries. And mind you, want to be totally clear, not for our fiduciary administrative, so that myself, the captains, sergeants, the sergeants and the lieutenants, yes, but the captains, myself, and the major would not fall into this at all. We are asking for our road guys, 5,000 first year, 5,000 the next year, and a 4% in the third year. Corrections, 3,000, 3,000, and a 4%. Dispatchers, 3,000 the first year, 3,000 the second year, and a 4% increase. Over the course of 3 years, we would be looking at about $1.2 million total expenditure. And the financial goal then would have been able to get us all of the additional things of the vehicles, the equipment, the training, the office improvements, civilian staff pay increases, the 6 new deputies, the corrections officers, and the dispatchers, for a total of $1,700,000 annually. And in summary, these improvements will allow us to have updated and efficient equipment, competitive wages, the additional manpower, better working environment, employee retainment, and to attract qualified candidates. We covered what we had done, and in close, based on a population of 165,000 people, to hit this goal with the increases and where we would be at, would basically be 2.9. To put this in layman's term, about as simple as I could tell you, is that it would cost us $1.46 per resident per month. Basically, less than the cost of a cup of coffee to be able to get to where we would like to be. So,
Well,
but,
thank you for coming in,
yep,
Rob.
thank you so much.